I allowed myself to see that my controlling was actually the thing that was keeping me stuck, and that nothing was happening to me. I was creating that story through old wounds, through a scarcity mindset, and through healing that needed to be done. So there's a lot of beautiful magic in the power of allowing. And I'm not going to lie, it is hard to do. It is hard to just stay in that discomfort. It is hard to see the areas of your life where you control, and maybe you're not the best of yourself when you're doing that, but there is so much power in just witnessing that and allowing it to unfold and allowing yourself to not fall back into those old patterns. Welcome back to Coming Into Focus. I am your host, Helen Tansey, and Happy New Year. Happy 2026. And I hope that you had an incredible holiday season. And I also hope that this year, 2026, is a wonderful year for you. I know that a lot of people take this time of the year, January, to sort of reflect. Some people set New Year's resolutions. I'm not a big one for doing that, but I do always feel like January is a new beginning. It is a time to think about, what do I want to invite into my life more? What do I want to let go of? And I definitely do set intentions, and it always feels like a new beginning to me. It always feels like an opening. And with that, I want to share with you that this episode is my first episode of 2026, but it's also my first solo episode. I have never done a solo episode before, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts that do that. Mel Robbins, there's another one called Gold Digger. There's quite a few out there where people do solo episodes, and I always find it intriguing. I don't even know if I can talk for a full 20 minutes, 30 minutes. I have no idea how long this is going to be, but I wanted to give it a try. I wanted to step out of my comfort zone. And one of the beautiful things, I turned 60 this year, and one of the beautiful things with aging is that you don't let your fears tell you what to do in life. You start to shift and you look at your fears and kind of go, nope. I'm not going to let you rule me. I'm going to do what's in my heart. And that's what I'm doing today. I just want to try this. I want to explore it, and I want to have fun with it. So thank you for being here. And today, let's just get to the subject that I want to talk about, the power of allowing. And the reason that I want to talk about this is it was a huge lesson for me in 2025. I went through a challenging time in my life, and I got to a place where I just had to surrender and allow. And I want to share bits of that with you. And I have 4 steps that I use in my life when I feel myself controlling that help me move back into the space of allowing. So the first step that I always use is recognizing when I am controlling. And controlling can show up in many different ways. It can show up as controlling a situation, keeping busy, controlling what other people are doing. It can also show up as perfectionism. It can show up as having those perfect grades or being the best at work or looking a certain way. So controlling has many different ways that it can come into your life. But one of the things is just recognizing it. And when I say that, it's really important that you just recognize it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to correct it. All you have to do is witness it, because that's the first step. When we can see that we are controlling, we can then sort of step back and go, oh, okay, what's going on here that I'm doing this? I also find too that when I start controlling, I am in my head a lot. I start asking myself a ton of questions like the what ifs. I try to make plans, strategies, and I just get really stuck in my head. And that's an indicator for me that I am slipping into control. So a simple technique that I use when that happens is I just sort of go back into your heart, Helen. go back into your heart center. And I can take a few deep breaths and come back into my heart. And I just give myself that little bit of space to breathe. And when I'm in a meditative state, it's a lot longer, it's a lot different, but a lot of us are in controlling situations throughout our daily life, and we don't have that time to sit down and start meditating. So something, again, you can do, recognize it, and then just go, okay, I'm stuck in my head. Let's go back into your heart. Go back into your heart. And when you do that, again, you just create a little bit of space where you can catch your breath, you can relax, calm your nervous system, and then you can always later on in the evening or the next day look at what's going on that you're trying to control the situation. So that's the first step for me that I do, is just recognizing where my control is coming from, just noticing it when it comes up. Then step 2 for me is understanding why. So I believe that a lot of the control in my life, and when I speak to colleagues and friends, a lot of the control came from maybe as a child they didn't feel safe. Maybe their needs weren't met. Maybe they weren't popular, or they felt less than. They didn't do well in school. They weren't a good athlete. And control was a way that protected them. So maybe you weren't a good athlete, but you were going to do really, really well in school, sort of academically. Perhaps you didn't get the love that you needed. So you control things around you now to make sure that you get that love. So just recognizing, I think, the first step of why we control things is really interesting too. And it's also a way to witness those parts of you again, but not feeling like we have to be fixed. I think that a lot of us feel like we have to be fixed, and I just want to step away from that, because it's not about fixing. It's about learning, and it's about growing. And I want to give you an example in my own life. So when I was growing up, I am from a family of divorce, and my mom was a single mom bringing up 3 kids. She worked 2 jobs. We lived in subsidized housing, and the church that my mom belonged to would often drop us off at Christmas time, like a turkey and meals like that for us. We lived on canned food and peanut butter jelly sandwiches, which I didn't mind that too much. But we didn't have a lot of money. And even though we got child support from my father, it wasn't a lot, and there wasn't a lot of extra money that we could do things with. But one of the things with my mom is that she looked at money as something that was evil, where it was like, oh, well, easy for them, they have money. And there was always this spite around money with my mother. So for me, money became something that felt, there was like a jealousy to it. There was a scarcity to it, and there was a not enough. There was never enough. And with my father and my stepmother, it was the opposite. My father and my stepmother, they had a beautiful house, they had a boat, they had a pool, they had quite the beautiful life. And again, even though they sent us child support, it wasn't a lot. And at times, when I would ask my dad for extra money, I was often met with a lot of questions. Well, why do you need that? Why do you need a new pair of shoes? Those shoes look just fine. And there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of shame when I would have to ask my dad for money. And I also just want to say that I love my parents. My mom is an extraordinary woman. She did not have an easy life, and we did not have an easy life, but I have so much love for her. She's 88 years old, and as she is coming to the end of her life, we have a lot of beautiful discussions now about when we were growing up, and there's a lot of healing going on with that, and I do love that, and I love my mom. My dad, I adored him. He passed away at 70, and I had so much love for him. And the reason why I want to share this with you is because I don't blame anybody. I don't have any resentful feelings towards my parents. There was a time in my life when I did, but I have healed and worked through that. So I don't blame them for any of this. I'm just showing you this as an example of, for me in my life, how control showed up. And the biggest way control show up for me in my life is around money, was around not having enough money. Because I'm a freelance artist, because I'm a photographer, you sort of have ebbs and flows with your work. So when it was not busy, I would go into that scarcity mindset and I would try to control situations like, how can I get more clients coming in? Or there was a shame. There was a shame if I wasn't busy. Like, what am I doing? Am I doing something wrong? So just recognizing where that control comes from. And not everybody has had traumatic childhoods. Not everybody has grown up in subsidized housing. But we all have these little triggers in our lives, these little areas of our childhood that scarred us, that we can react from, and I believe that we can control from. So that would be step 2 for me, is understanding how the control shows up for you in your life. And then step 3 is learning to release control and trust. Now, this is always easier said than done. It is something that I work on in my life, and I have a dedicated practice in the mornings. It is my non-negotiable. And in the mornings I get up, I walk my dog, I come back, I make myself a cup of tea, and I begin my morning practice. And this is often a time where I can look at what is going on with my emotions, with my feelings, in my heart, and really take that time to uncover what it is that is going on, possibly what my triggers are. And it's not always a bad thing either. But I want to go back to at the beginning of this podcast when I share with you the lesson that I learned in 2025. And in the summer of 2025, my business slowed down. And I started thinking to myself, well, AI is taking all the business. People don't need photographers anymore. They can just use AI to take their photos. When I first started in this industry, there were just a handful of photographers, and now there are many, many photographers out there. And there's a part of me that felt like, oh, well, there's so many photographers out there right now, so of course the work is being diluted. And I didn't want to think that way, because I want to support new artists. I want to support other artists. I don't want to feel like they're taking work away from me or I am taking work away from them. And then thoughts of like, oh, well, I'm going to be 60. Maybe I'm not relevant anymore. There was just all these thoughts that were going through me during that time. And so what normally I would do is fall into control. It would be like, okay, do more posts on Instagram, set some deals out there, reach out to some past, clients of yours. But there was something in me that just went, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to control this anymore. It's burning me out. It's exhausting me. And there's got to be a better way. And that's when I just surrendered. And I just allowed. And with that allowing, there were lots of tears. There were lots of walks with my dog Benny in nature. There was a lot of contemplating and revisiting where this fear came from in me when it comes to my work, where I had insecurities, where I felt inadequate. And again, instead of trying to fix them, all I did was recognize them. And I just stayed with it, and I allowed the feelings to come. And I'm going to tell you, it was about a month and a half of 2 months of not feeling my best. I felt extremely vulnerable. I retreated a lot. I didn't go out with people. I stayed home. I journaled a lot. I meditated. I'm very fortunate that I have a husband and 2 boys who love me and support me. And I was just in a place of sadness, and not a sadness that brings you to your knees, but more of a sadness of like, it's almost like a releasing. And in order to release, I had to look at all the reasons that I had tried to control so much. And then I got to tell you, I was walking with my husband and I was sharing this with him. I was sharing how I was just staying in it and I was releasing it, and how I was worried about AI. I was worried about all these photographers. I was worried about maybe getting older and becoming irrelevant. And I said to him, I said, you know, all I'm doing is allowing. I'm just allowing everything to come up. And all of a sudden I stopped and I went, oh my gosh, I'm creating this story. Nothing is happening to me. I am creating this story. And it was like this opening all of a sudden. It was like this greater understanding. And I don't think I would have reached that if I continued to control. Because I believe when we control, it's almost like we have blinders on, where, you know, when you used to see horses and they had blinders so they could only move straight ahead. But when we remove those blinders, there's so much more possibility to be out there. There are so many different ways of thinking, of experiencing, and attracting. And with that allowing, I allowed myself to see what I was doing to myself. I allowed myself to see that my controlling was actually the thing that was keeping me stuck, and that nothing was happening to me. I was creating that story through old wounds, through a scarcity mindset, and through healing that needed to be done. So there's a lot of beautiful magic in the power of allowing. And I'm not going to lie, it is hard to do. It is hard to just stay in that discomfort. It is hard to see the areas of your life where you control. And maybe you're not the best of yourself when you're doing that. But there is so much power in just witnessing that and allowing it to unfold, and allowing yourself to not fall back into those old patterns. So I want to get to step 4 with you. Step 4 is trusting in what unfolds. So through this practice, trust grows through the stillness. And I feel that through reflection and connection to yourself is where we can begin to expand. And for me, like I mentioned earlier, through my practice of meditation, that's when things start to unfold for me. And I'm going to walk you back through my meditation practice, because I believe that there are tons of different ways which we can practice in our lives that things can unfold. And not everybody can sit and meditate. Some people, their practice is fitness. Their practice is a therapist. Whatever your practice is, I believe it is so important to do, because it is through that practice that things can unfold and open up for us. So when I do my meditation practice in the morning, the first thing I do my meditation practice, and it's just a lot of breathing. It's coming into my heart. It's coming into my body. It is calming my nervous system. And after I do that for a little bit, I get my journal and I begin writing. And there's that book, The Artist's Way. I can't remember the author right now, but she talks about those unconscious pages where we just write and write. So often I just start writing. If it is something I am worried about, if it is something that I'm struggling with, or it's something that I'm excited about, I might write down that first. But I just start writing and get into this beautiful flow of it. And then I believe that I connect to something higher. I connect to my higher self. And when that happens, often I get this beautiful wisdom that comes in. And it is through this practice, this daily practice, that grounds me so that I have the strength, I have the discipline, and I have the self-love for myself to take this time to uncover my emotions and my feelings, and even those like sticky, uncomfortable pieces of us, I just am able to look at them. And through that beautiful practice, I am able to see what unfolds. And I find when we allow whatever I am holding on to that isn't serving me, I release with love. And it is such a powerful, simple practice that I do. And I wanted to share that with you because I think that all of these steps together can be such a beautiful way of allowing ourselves to be fully present and allowing ourselves to be who we are truly meant to be, and not acting from a place of pain, not acting from a place of trying to control, but acting from a place of just allowing and opening ourselves up to all the possibilities that are within us. And as we step into this year, I want to allow myself more. I want to allow myself to try new things. I want to allow myself to have faith in something that is far greater than me. And I want to stop controlling. And it doesn't mean doesn't come in. I have times where it starts to come in, but again, I'm able to recognize when it does. And I just stop and I'm going, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to do this today. I'm not going to try to control myself. I'm just going to allow myself to be. So I would invite you to do that. I would invite you to allow yourself to be, to let go of control and just see what happens, to open up your mind, to open up your heart, to open up your soul to all possibilities. Because when we are controlling, we are only seeing things through our prism. When we are controlling, we only see things working out the way that we want it to. But what if we just allowed? And what if something magical happens that we didn't even realize was a possibility? So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to do my first solo episode and to share my heart with you. And I hope that this year is an incredible year for you. And it means so much that you are here with me, sending you so much love. And until the next episode, I'll see you soon.